On this episode of Intent Topics, we're going to talk about how knowing who you are selling to is more important than knowing what you are selling. All right, what's up, Logan? How's it going, buddy?
Good, bro.
Oh, same old. So today we're going to talk about knowing who you are selling to and how that is more important than knowing what you are selling. You down to jam on that?
Yeah, dude. Let's do it.
Cool. So we've been talking about this a bit, and we've been kind of outlining this a bit, but I think what we've come down to here is this is about go to market, right? Mm-hmm. And I think where this conversation has kind of started from is we talk a lot about target audience. We talk a lot about the right content to the right person, et cetera, et cetera. And then when it comes time to onboard a new client or iterate on how we're doing with the client, we're finding that a lot of businesses don't know who their ideal customer is, right? Is that fair to say?
I think it's like everybody can talk about in a fairly squishy form, what the ideal client profile is.
Yeah. That's fair.
But I think like what we're talking about, this is 2019. We can use data to define this. It's never been easier to build a data defined ICP. And the value that has when you're building a go-to-market strategy, or you're either selling a new product or you're selling a product that you're looking to, or service that you're looking to boost, rolling that into the tacticians in the kind of like the engine room of a team, a sales organization or a marketing organization, is unbelievably powerful, because otherwise it's all just guessing, and that's unacceptable in 2019.
Well, yeah, and when it comes down to legit creating a list to do targeted outreach to, you need like some real criteria to work off of. You can't just go off of like, Bob the Baker persona that you built when you were building your blog strategy, right? Like this is legit. Yeah. Like who, what account, what's the industry, what's all the criteria you use when building out lists, like what's the target revenue size, what role within the companies, their technology that they're using, right? And so understanding that is required.
Right. Yeah. Let me break it down a little bit. So I've sat in a lot of like marketing seminars where we talk about like ideal client profile and whatever, the guy running the thing, it's like he feels really clever because he asks you, what kind of car does your target prospect drive, right? That's all like really cute. What did he eat for breakfast?
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff.
What magazine do they read?
Right? Yeah. Okay, so that's great. But like, what the hell does that actually tell you about the target list that you're going to build? It does not tell you anything. It tells you how you might communicate with that person, right? But persona and ICP need to be decoupled, right? They are two totally different things. One's how you communicate. It has a weak pull on the content creation, but sales content should be created, listen to 4 C's of sales content, right? So there's a certain element of like, I don't care what he ate for breakfast. What I care about is what does his firm look like on a firmographic, technographic, and then start getting into things like a little bit more sophisticated around like intent data, right? So the squishy stuff, I think we have mounds of data. Like go into Everstring or ZoomInfo and take that buyer persona and try to turn that into a strategy. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it almost feels like that squishy stuff is like a way to get wheels in motion to be thinking about.
Yeah, it's almost
how
like
to approach that, right?
Yeah,
and I think it's good for like what blog posts or ebooks or like at a high level, what content's the right content to create for this person to consume. But I think to be effective at what we're doing with very specific data-driven outreach with very specific personalized content, you have to go much deeper, and you have to take the who you're talking to a lot more seriously, just to even create the target list, right?
Yeah, sure. So like, okay, do I need an idea? Do I need a buyer persona to build that, right? I don't know, right? Because if I know what software that person's using, I know what content that person's consuming already. I already know what content that person is consuming through intent data, right? So why do I care what about the persona if I can reverse engineer what he is already like reading and consuming? That's what I'm trying to say here, right? So it's like we spend a lot of time being comfortable with guessing. I think a lot of people do this. We feel comfortable spending a lot guessing what's going on, but the real power is spending the time to break this down into real data, and then engineering your content strategy, and then engineering, what your value prop is and all of that. Yeah. And that can be done through the tools that are available here today. And
I also think a challenge that's similar is if you're too many things to too many people, you can never get specific enough with a list, who to be looking at, surging topics, what revenue size, it's too big a needle in a haystack. I'm going to do the fishing analogy. I'm sorry. But if you can't hone in on where to fish, it's a very big ocean.
Yeah.
Right. So I got a boat full of shit I could throw in the water. But if you don't get specific, you're never going to catch anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like point of the spear, right? Like you can stab a lot of different places, but it has to be specifically in the right spot, right? And with that really sharp tip. And so, it's okay if like for an agency, for example, let's say an agency, because agencies are like the biggest offenders of being generalists on the planet, right? The agencies that we work with. That have chosen that specific vertical, they've created content that's reverse engineered from what they are hearing on the street, not from what they think the person's thinking, because those are assumptions, and that's a different episode. Yeah. So what's really powerful is like they pick this specific vertical or category, and it's okay to have 6 of those if you have the ability to back that up if you have a big enough content engine, right?
Yeah.
So you have the point.
While being the marketing guy in the group compared to the rest, we're doing modeling and we're trying to get very specific on who we want to sell to, right? And the approach to me was kind of like, Chris, are you okay with this? I'm like, absolutely. I want nothing more than to know specifically who you guys think it'll be most effective to do our outreach, so that I can back all the way into the exact content, down to the exact number of visits to our website, converting, all of that. And if I know exactly and I'm not talking like what magazine and what car they drive, but exactly what this person, who our target audience is, I'm happy. Right. And then I can kick off the battle between marketing and sales, because I know exactly what the right fit is.
Right. There is no battle. There is no battle.
Exactly. Right? The battle is there is no battle. I love it. Exactly.
It's like but I think the piece is like, how big of a vehicle are you trying to drive down the street, and how big is the content engine of your company? Right. So like the bigger, the more verticals you're in, the more, sort of places you need to stab, the more content you're going to have to produce. Right. And I think
there's only so much time in a day too. Right. Of course. It's like you think it's attractive to be like, oh, we work for all businesses. That actually sucks. You know, you gotta hone in on it, because you'll never actually very specifically get good at that. And we've kind of peaked and valleyed with this over the last year and a half, right? Like we've been like, we could be effective for anyone, right? That's challenging, because we have to learn every industry, right? To do what we're doing, get good at it.
Yes.
So honing in on it's been very beneficial to us, right? And then we're learning that we can hone in even more. Right. Even more. And so that's taught us how to do that well for our clients. And and you're carrying that into onboarding, and you're pushing our clients as you onboard them to think more critically about that, right?
Well, that's the thing is like, we knew this about our clients 2 years ago. We didn't force ourselves to do it, right? Because there's an element of like, you need cash flow, you need to get the wheels, you need to get the engine started, whatever that. We're using so many metaphors. Screw that.
Yeah.
You need to generate cash flow. You need to establish a fit. You need to kind of make the mistakes and all this kind of stuff, right? So, but when I'm working with a sophisticated company, a company that's been around for a while or has, very talented agency or somebody who's got a nice, product or service, software, whatever it is. It's like, all right, you've already got the thing. Now let's put that aside and let's figure out where you want to put it.
Yeah. And
then from there, we can start once you have the talent or the product or the software, whatever it is, now you can start to skin it based on where you're going to put it, right? If it's going to go onto the savannah, make it look like a lion, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So
Jeep dealer, past life. There it is. Yeah. Savannah? Or no, is that Sahara? Yeah, I got
Sahara,
you. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's what I'm saying is knowing who you're going to sell to doesn't mean just I want to be in this industry. You need to have something. That's kind of the table stakes, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, let's talk about the value prop, because you can be different things to different people, but you can't be everything to everyone. That's never going to work. And that's what I was trying to, our clients to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to say earlier. And you need to specifically choose one, right? Because you certainly in outreach can't be like the guy on the beach at the all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean, like, here, what do you need? A toothbrush, some marijuana? Like what? Like, exactly. No, it has to be very specific. And if you want to do all 10 things, they all need to look 10 different ways. And we'd be happy to do all 10.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the content engine is. Do you have like going on vacation in the Caribbean on your mind? Because that's like,
it kind of seems like it. Maybe it's because it's like snowy and getting cold here, and I skied this weekend. I'm starting to I'm losing grip on warm part of my life or part of the year. Yeah, but no, actually I have no intentions of going to the Caribbean. I'd rather go. I'm in like cold mode. I'm in winter mode right now. Feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I mean, my apartment's like freezing now. So, I get to wear like sweatpants and stuff, and that's kind of fun.
No, it's great. Yeah. And you've turned the heat on, right? Big step for you.
I turned the heat on. Yeah. Like a week or two ago.
I do the old, I got kids play and turn the heat on. I keep the kids warm, right? Because I want to keep wearing shorts. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's get specific on digging into the target, right?
Yeah.
So step one, you dig into industry, right?
So let's kind of go. I think like we want to start putting data to our ideal client profile, right? So, industry is a good place. There are some cases that, you see, for instance, you have a software that plays really well with users of another kind of software, right? Say it's, accounts payable software. It only works with certain accounting software. So now it's like, all right, cool. So I would say that would be where you want to start with like the broadest encompassing factor, right? So that a lot of times that's industry. Sometimes it's, sometimes it's Fortune 2000 companies. Sometimes like there's ways, but I would say like start with the broadest definition of your market.
Okay.
And then from there, this is not like a clinic on building target audiences. And let's stop calling it a list, right? It's an audience, right? This is what we're cultivating, because it's a list of target accounts, but it is an audience, and it's like a living thing, because there's different roles within each so in this audience there might be 4 or 5 lists and then segments within those. So the idea is
it can expand and contract based on what's working with content, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we start with the broadest, And then we want to start to segment we really want to start to segment the audience based on what we would call like contextual factors, right? So like, all right, they use this accounting software, and maybe they're searching for specific intent topics. Maybe they're searching for, or maybe they also use other software. So that could be, maybe it's like if they use, this accounting software, but then they also use like Salesforce or something, that's the kind of customer we want because they're forward thinking or something like that. I don't know, I'm making up the assumptions. So, there's different, so say it's a technographic segmentation. It might be segmentation by industry, right? So you have this huge user base of these softwares, and now we bring it into the industry, and now you can start to build context in your outreach there, right? So, so then once we have that kind of those contextual segments built, right?
Yeah.
We might only want to focus on 1 or 2 or 3. That's where we have to start making content decisions, right? Like, can we tell that story? Can we actually build a value prop? And then obviously things like margin analysis and all this kind of stuff, comes into play. Certainly. And that's why GTM should not be in a vacuum. So I would say to summarize, broad, sort of factor. And then from there, contextual factors, contextual elements, whether that's industry, software, revenue, employee count,
technology in use.
And then from there, you start to match contacts, right? Now you're figuring out inside of those contacts or inside of those accounts, how do the contacts relate? How do the contacts interact? And how can you leverage, your outreach to do that? And that's something that, here at Union has been very fun over the last year as we've played with these different kinds of data. I would say like the last years where we've really started to accelerate our win rates for clients. Because this is the framework that we use on every single client.
And it's working. Yeah,
exactly. And it's, I gotta say, like sometimes I'm sweating because, I'm trying to figure out, what the segmentation should look like. But then once you get it, the messaging is so much easier.
Yeah. It's so much easier. And the ability to personalize is easier too.
Right. Yes.
Because you're so keyed in.
Right. It's like getting into flow. It's like the market sales and marketing version of flow, right? Like there's no noise. You're just focused on that one thing, and everything is, you can write an email that sounds good because you know exactly who you're targeting. You can build a value proposition that's going to sell because, all of a sudden, like there's no sort of ancillary crap to the plot, right? It's just the story that your end user wants to hear.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Chris Battis.
And I'm Logan Kelly. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you listen to. We will see you next time.
All right. Take care, everyone.